I'm totally.
You're quoting what's his name? Who played the Elephant Man? John. That's another John. I'm not remembering.
I am not an animal. That's the right one.
John Merrick.
I'm gonna get mine. Don't do the crime if you can't do the time. Don't tell me how you're off and down when you're smiling in my face, but you play me like a clown and you fool.
What did you do?
I lost it.
You fucked it up.
What do you want? Roll it. Lefty. Let's roll.
Hold on. That's that was really weird. Try that again. I know there's an echo. Hold on. That didn't work. You see it now, right?
Squad, I'm gonna get mine. Don't do the crime if you can't do the time. Don't tell me how you're off and down when you're smiling in my face, but you play me like a clown and a fool, bitch. So just step back. I'm a mad dad when I come down straight. I thought you were my piece, but you play me out. Now I'm mad as hell, and I'm full of doubt. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll. I'm back on the scene, it's time to get mean. I'm a lean revolution machine. For what people stay, they sway. For today is good as any day. Y'all feel slightly dis, let's resist. Raise your fist and pump like this. Promises all the time. Don't cross the line, and you know it's mine. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll. Who you wanna roll with? Who you wanna roll with? Lefty, let's roll.
That was a choppy fucking mess, let me tell you. And Jim's here.
Yeah, no
Jim, it
audio.
was a pleasure to see you the other day.
hold on. The audio was breaking up on your intro thing. I don't know if you
Yeah, I was just telling him that. Lefty's
Okay.
been a mess today.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, maybe you can play it at the end because I really enjoy it. You know.
So
How do I? Can you hear me?
you sound like you always do.
Am I choppy?
A
Okay,
little
good.
bit.
That
Oh, no,
sounds good.
So we got a guest today. Let's. I think we should recap a little bit from the event on last Tuesday. I think that went pretty well. It was good to see Jim. Meet him for the first time in person, and we all had some good conversations. It was, if you were there for the actual cast itself, you got to see that we were returned to by our guest from Georgia to hear more of his story and the update from that. The problem was that it was me and Lefty listening, and we all know how this gentleman has, he has stuff to say. He has a message to put out, and that's all in good. For Lefty to get up in the middle of that though and leave me to just sit and listen alone without any interaction. I told him that, right? You're a monster for doing that.
No,
You really are.
that's a right. That's a rite of passage, man. That's just a rite of passage of being on the podcast. You know.
Oh, I think I've been
it's-
through those
it's-
already,
it's-
haven't I? We've had this discussion
Yeah.
before, rites of passage.
Yeah, you know what I mean. You become a professional fucking football player. People are going to be like doing shit like that to you. You join a team, a thing, and not like you're a latecomer. You're not a newbie.
course.
You've got the experience, but you got on this team, and that's the way.
Yeah.
I totally was like, that's why I don't put myself in that position.
It was a good time, though. We had a good day.
You
What was
didn't
it?
see- you
Justin
didn't see
Woman
me
was
sit
there.
right
Justin
there,
Woman
yeah.
Canvas was there. We had
It was great. Yeah.
the chef something. I have to look up his name. Was there with his THC hot sauces and stuff he was promoting, which looked really cool. Get the name of this guy so I can promote him properly here. His name is Chef Matt, brand of Chef Matt. He has a flower called Area 51. It's very good, and so is his hot sauce.
That's a really great name, though.
Chef Matt?
No, Area 51 is probably not what do you call it? Owned phrase or copyrighted. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So just saying Area 51 kind of gives it a vibe, instantly that nobody can say, hey, you can't call it that. Yeah, fuck you, I can.
I noticed something, Jim. What was it? A cast or two ago, we were talking about concerts, and we were talking about Springsteen, and I believe you talked about a Grateful Dead show, and it made me. And then I saw you wearing the shirt on Tuesday, and it really made me think. You go back in time to Grateful Dead or a Springsteen show back then, you'd have a lot more cannabis users, hallucinogenic users, a pretty wide crowd of people who absorb different things. Completely different story. I definitely imagine today for a Springsteen concert, but a Grateful Dead show or Led Zeppelin show, I don't think it would have changed much. Do you agree?
I might. Hold on. Okay, the bomb was liquefied. And there's only a little bit of edible bomb left. So the only things I had where it's on the bottom to scrape it was the back of a shoehorn. It works very good for scraping out something like that. And then you caught me with a question. I heard everything. Yeah, actually, it is relatively the same today as far as cannabis consumption goes. It wasn't much different then, but the thing is, now is not that much different than then legally when it comes to
I'm
smoking.
talking more the hallucinogenic side. Like
I'm saying, it's no more illegal to smoke at a Springsteen concert now than it was then. It's still not legal because it's
the hallucinogenics.
Oh, hallucinogenics. I got to say that was something that I had really too early, an early introduction in and out of, to where I wasn't myself comfortable doing that in a group of people or otherwise. I I found I could get pretty ripped on some good
Mixed
weed,
company.
you know. But yeah, it was really fun, especially seeing the bands that you knew were doing acid because they were just like tearing it up.
Yeah.
And when it came to like the Dead, they didn't have the same way of playing a song twice ever, so you couldn't really tell.
My
when
point was, so being that like you go to a Springsteen concert or Zeppelin concert back in the day, you definitely find a array of people, you know, some people doing hallucinogenics, whereas nowadays you might find a few at a Zeppelin concert, like some who still hang on to it, but
Yeah.
none at a Springsteen concert. That's not something
no,
you see
no,
as-
well, yeah, Springsteen didn't have a lot of people smoking at it publicly either. Maybe because he didn't smoke or use drugs or anything. So you know, I mean, but to me, it's the music, not the person, that I would emulate. You know.
Yes.
So like,
More so the audience, really, in that case.
yeah, but I found the audience at a Springsteen concert to be more on the same line and the same time together. You know. I mean, in other words, they would take part more. You know, they were just more in unison, visibly and audibly, having the same kind of fun. It seemed, because it was like everybody seemed to know every word to every song, but not me. You know, I mean, I liked Springsteen, but I saw him because I was the guy. I had a 16-year-old brother said, "You want a ticket and drive me and two of my friends there back and hang with us."
He does seem a bit more uniform, so I get what you're saying in that
Yeah,
regard.
and then you in the parking lot, everybody's out there way early, like a football game or something, and everybody has Springsteen music on. Everybody.
Yep, it's still
You
to this
know?
day.
Now that goes the same in a way for Dead concerts, especially.
I think that has a lot to do, though, at least in Jersey, in the tri-state area, to the fact that he did at least used to perform at a lot of stadiums. So tailgating was just like something you could incidentally do.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Like when he was at Giant Stadium all the time.
Yeah, well, that's where I saw him. You know, and it was a long, really, really good concert.
They were always good.
It was fantastic. You know, it was done really, really well. They were good at their craft. You know, they didn't take it lightly. And
God knows what he's doing.
they were all on the same bus all night long. Which, on the other hand, I like the Dead concerts because you could almost feel who was pulling the song away from where it was. You know, it had a flow, the freewheeling part, and you could feel somebody starting to do something a little different. Maybe somebody picked it up and it would change the flow a little, and you knew they were having fun doing that. You know, John Mayer actually described it best, saying it was like all like being under one big blanket that didn't quite cover everybody, so you start pulling it your way and then somebody else is pulling it that way, and you know, but in a good way, you know, not like, you know, just being how they were. Yeah, it's a different experience, I think. Now it is for me, but you know, maybe people look at me differently because I'm the old guy. You know, who the fuck knows? Who the hell knows?
Yeah. So,
And
Liz is
there's
here.
Liz. Hey, Liz.
Hi, how are you?
Doing all right.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm doing real well, thank
Did you
you.
have a good holiday?
I'm sorry?
Did you have a good holiday weekend?
I did. How about you?
It was very busy, but we had a good holiday weekend, and we celebrated Earth Day the following Tuesday, so it was good.
Good.
Yes. So, Lefty told us we were having a guest today. I did not catch much of a background on you. Would you mind sharing a little bit with everyone your background?
Absolutely. My background is in marketing, management, customer service, et cetera, et cetera. I also, I am a retired nurse, ER and critical care. I have a lot of medical issues. I'm 66 years old. I hate my job. And when I decided I really wanted to leave my job, I realized that, at 66, I have metastatic breast cancer, which is stable and has been for 3 years. I have a hip replacement. I have an autoimmune disorder, and the list goes on. I'm not marketable. And so I was sitting there, I'm like, nobody's ever going to hire me. And it's pretty realistic. But, in the weed community, I am like the poster child. I've got all this shit wrong with me, but yet here I am walking and I'm fine. And every doctor I have been to, when they walk in the room, they look at me and they say, you do not match your chart. And I don't. And it's because of weed.
That's a good way of putting it. You don't match your chart.
It's exactly what they say.
Well, it's exactly understandable when you relate it like that. I mean, it perfectly describes the situation.
Because I have no
incredibly succinctly too.
Yeah.
By the way, I got you by 6 years, so don't be pulling that old people's shit on.
Listen, I'm owning it. I'm proud to have made it here.
Hey, I'm almost 73, and anybody else would say, yeah, I'm 72. No, I always advance my age as it happens, and I don't do it on purpose. I don't know why. It's sort of like, isn't that the goal from the day you're born?
Right?
Become old.
Right.
Success.
Exactly.
Success. I'm losing my voice still.
I celebrate it because I'm actually surprised I'm still here. I grew up in the 70s. We did a lot of dumb stuff. So, but
I'm a child of the 90s, so I get that to a degree. I don't know how much. I don't know if we got up to the same dumb stuff you guys got up to, but let's look at it this way. At least we're not riding on top of subways. We can always say we did some crazy stuff, but we're not doing that.
Yeah, exactly. So, my feeling was, I got my medical card in 2018. I know about weed now. I've learned and I've studied and I've researched. And then I go into dispensaries and I hear things like, my mom has this. And what would you recommend? Bring her ass in here. Okay. Us boomers are forgotten. Advertising does not reflect reality. You show me 3 grannies sitting around a table sharing a bong with an Entenmann's. That is real life.
I like the Entenmann's ad edition there. That made it very, very real for me.
And very Jersey. And very Jersey.
Yes, that too. I never appreciate how Jersey Entenmann's are.
Munchy food. I love munchy food.
Yeah. But, and seniors are not educated. They are not knowing. I mean, back in the 70s, you got a bag of weed, you smoked it. There was no such thing as, sativa. There was no such thing as a filter.
And I get what you're saying in that regard. I try to look at it, though, as more that, you got seniors aren't everyone was in the dark about cannabis.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why, as someone who is licensed to advise on this stuff, I take it very seriously and take every chance I get to answer people's questions and advise them, because it's still not at the point where people say, I have a question about cannabis. What would be a good place to go to answer that question? Not the internet, not my doctor, but the people who are licensed to do this.
Well,
it hasn't gotten to that point yet.
Right.
This is a very good topic of discussion. I often don't fit well into some of the topics because I'm the one being educated along with everybody else. And that's really the best part of it for me. I'm not bitching about it and all. But this is one where it's yes, we have an insight that, well, they don't. Lefty's sort of like on the cusp, he's in no man's, I don't know what generation. Lefty, what generation are you? You're not a baby boomer. What came next? You don't even have
Generation
one. See
X.
that?
You're probably Gen X.
Yeah, but the thing is,
Yeah,
the big
80s.
difference
Born in
I
the 80s.
find
Right.
is people my age had no interest in learning about cannabis, which was horrible in the 70s, and you really couldn't attract a bunch of them to learn anything about it, and medically was not the issue then, you know, but now. And not even just now, like 20 years ago or so, Ken Walsky and me and another guy went to a retirement home, a rather large one, to do a talk as a Coalition for Medical Marijuana New Jersey, a brand new organization back in 22 years ago. And I was shocked. The place was like well represented and got more questions than anywhere we'd been before that. More interest, more communication. Nobody on a phone, I mean, it was like
Yeah.
total interest. So the fact that there is an interest, yes, it is underrepresented because it's kind of morphed and the representation didn't morph along with it somehow,
Some
I've
people
been surprised by the bandwagon. I always said, one day the bandwagon's going to be here, but the bandwagon, like, they rode right by. The bandwagon rode right by. So how does this work for me?
Exactly.
A lot of people are still
the green
waiting-
rush, wait for the patients. Whoa, we're here.
A lot of people are still waiting for that widespread social green light. Some have seen it, some haven't. I remember when I first started advising over at AIR, when I was at the ShopRite later on, a woman that helped approached me and she said, "Are you the man who helped me at the dispensary?" I said, "Yes, I believe. Yes, I remember you." And she pulled out her phone instantly with a list of questions and strains that she had. And it took 15 minutes to answer it for her, but I feel a lot of people are still waiting for like their version of that social green light to say, "This is okay. We're fine now."
And this is where I come in.
Yes.
Building that community of seniors, and not just online. There will, it's a senior community where everybody can get together, because we do have different needs. And even in the past 7 years since I got my medical card, times have changed dramatically. 7 years ago when I went to get my medical card, you needed to bring a stack of medical records. Okay. You had to have an in-person examination. Then if they agreed, you had to come back and take a class. And that class told you, okay, there are 3 things: sativa, indica, and hybrid. And these are the 2 ways you can do it. You can smoke it, or we have vape. Those were the only 2 products available: flower and vape cartridges. Now, after you took this class and learned those 3 things and 2 consumption methods, then you had to set up an appointment at a dispensary, and you would have to have a consultation with a specialist before you got to go through the magic doors and get something. But you got a little bit of education. It wasn't much, but it was a hell of a lot more than what's going around now. So I want to bring seniors to the forefront. They are one of the biggest growing demographics in the industry right now. And a lot of them are retired. A lot of them have hobbies, and this would be a great one for them. We give them the education, let them make informed decisions, have events and pop-ups at the dispensaries. I actually, 2 dispensaries I go to, when I first pitched the idea, when I first thought about it, I said, why don't you do like an early bird special discount for seniors, like early morning, 10 to 12? 2 of the dispensaries I pitched that to tried it, and they have been getting a lot more business in the morning, and all seniors. And it really made an impact. And so that's just the beginning.
It sounds awesome. I love this idea of not just a target to specifically educate who frankly needs the education the most, but also a sense of community for them. And I can tell you right now, you can count me in for being someone who can translate this information to them. If you need to also, I'd be happy to help. That sounds awesome.
I love it. Thank you so much. And that's what it's all about. It's about community.
I got to ask a question. You saw the need for that. You said something about it, and it kind of went that way.
Right.
Isn't that what really draws you in to know I made a difference in somebody else's life just by bothering to take part?
Exactly. The best way, I'm learning this as well. This is a journey for me. And my experience, I need to share. I need to show the safety of it, the non-judgment zone with dispensaries, with bud tenders, with, the public, all of it. And we need that inclusivity. Education discounts. Back before it was cool, I was one of them extreme couponers. Well, it has, morphed its way over to cannabis. Rewards points, watch for sales.
Yeah.
I wound up, this was, I think, back in September. I walked out of Air Dispensary in Woodbridge with 2 1/4 ounces, one kind pre-roll and one kind infused pre-roll.
Now, let me ask you, who do you usually deal with? That's my starting ground over there, Air Woodbridge. So you perked my ears up. Who do you usually deal with over there? Do you have a favorite bud tender?
I actually don't. And
And what
honestly, I go there when the sales hit. And if it's a big sale, I use my 3 ounces. That day, I walked out of there paying $74.15 for over 2 ounces of weed.
And they will do good value still. I tell people all the time, like I went in on 420 to get them to buy them pizza, and I was said, I'm sorry that it's not popping in here. But in my head I'm thinking, sure, on 420 they may not be able to beat everyone else's deals, but every other day of the week they got it. And at the end of the day, the people in there care. I won't speak at all for the director. Don't care for him that much, but the management, amazing. Egypt, Joe, Amani, the 2 women managers you see back there, they will always help you. They're wonderful.
Oh, I love going there, but I
Yes.
save it for when they have 75% off.
How? Okay, there.
How do you mention? I think I recognize you.
You look familiar.
75% off. That's possible. I didn't know that. I thought
Yes.
I
And
thought
it's the one thing I am so thankful to the government for. The only thing. Now, as a business person, and Liz Lights Up is transforming into a marketing company that focuses on senior cannabis marketing. But as I forgot what I was going to say. You know what I did before I got here. The best thing they did for us,
yeah.
expiration dates. They are such bullshit. But as it gets closer to the expiration date, they either have to sell it or destroy it. Correct?
Yep.
Yeah, we've had this conversation. They must have made a change somewhere at the CRC to be able to do that, because I had the conversation a few years back and it really wasn't possible. It was like there was always an answer for why not, because that's exactly when there should be a sale, and then that's in that person's.
So I can shed a little light on that as someone who's worked there, at least for Air. They will gauge the product, and either most likely they're going to give it to the employees for a grand discount before it has to be either destroyed, Or if they think it's a product that'll sell, they'll put it on the shelves at a discount for customers. But that's their usually.
But there's no. It doesn't get used into edibles or anything, or balm, not edibles. Balm. See, balm should have no expiration date on what makes the balm. If it's going to expire at midnight, make the goddamn balm in the morning, and it's not going to age. It's it's going to be as long as you keep it good. In case of the balm that I use with food grade, so I can just take a finger lick of it instead of making cookies all the time. Yeah, that stays in the refrigerator most of the time as well. So it doesn't liquefy and then recongeal or anything.
Right.
But that wasn't possible then, and the whole destroying it because there's a date on the back. I mean, even at food stores, they're like Dunkin' Donuts or something. They do at Dunkin' Donuts. I used to go to, they'd give it away to somebody at about 4 o'clock in the morning when they started making donuts. And somebody came by from, I don't know, a food bank or something, and they would get all those donuts then.
Yeah.
So they weren't, that made me feel good. But do they, okay, if they're going to have to destroy it, shouldn't they at least do it like in a pretty good size closed in room with a low ceiling so 50 or 60 people can hotbox it? I mean, just come, here, we got it. You come in, we got them all rolled.
Well, I think a lot of the reason why they don't
let people destroy it for you, or something.
The same reason with the
what
cannabis
a waste, though. What a waste.
As the food is, I think there's a legal reason why they don't give away stuff that's that close to expiration, even close to it at all.
Yeah, that's what was happening before. I mean, because I suggested it and was met with seemingly good enough reasons, and I don't go into the weeds with them over whether the reasons are proper or not. All I need to know is the playing field. Whether or not it's fair has never been my concern. I'm the one that always says, yeah, the playing field is definitely not slanted in our favor. However, it's not like planar, it's not like this and it's just slanted like this. It's more like this, it's undulating, and there are places in it where we have the advantage, and we just got to know where they are.
Mm-hmm.
In my case, I don't want to enter because I got a lot of questions once you get going. If you don't, it's that when you communicate with legislators, it's a privileged only one-way street. They can't say boo about what you've said to them, written to them, your concerns, or any of that. They're not allowed. We, as our constituents, can take what they say and put it on a billboard. We could copy a letter they write or an email and put it in a newspaper or anywhere online we want. So why doesn't that happen more? See, that's my thing, which is not topic today, but helping people successfully engage with their representation in Trenton is the people that legislators will respond to. And if they don't, it looks terrible, but it doesn't look terrible if nobody sees it. So when those emails are put together unanswered or answers that didn't answer the question, put up on a website is something they don't even expect. How is that a surprise attack? It's like, when you get that letter that, if anything else comes before you, I will keep your views in mind. Otherwise, I can't keep you. Yeah, when they start saying all that, it only sounds bad to people reading it. So everybody should be able to read it. See, that's where we can play. When it comes to advocating, but beyond the advocating, making sure people understand the playing field, that's what you're doing.
Well, part of advocating, I feel like, is educating, because people can't understand what we're advocating for, or you can't break your advocation of truth through their whatever their nonsense or stigmatized nonsense they believe in if you don't present them with the truth first. So I think it's a necessary step in the process of advocating to make them understand first, so that when people present them with oh, did you know that sativas are linked to, a rise in irritation? And no, that's a lie. That's a lie.
How do you convince somebody who has to take chemo that cannabis will help them with their nausea? Because I know somebody right now that's taking chemo that will not use cannabis. There's a stigma. However, you're going to put all those chemicals into your body, but not use cannabis.
Well, they're going to give you a Zofran, yeah. But again,
What are they afraid of? That you need to
don't know.
turn it around to them and say, okay, you don't want to use the cannabis. Why? What are you afraid is going to happen?
I would expect to hear an answer like, well, I don't know how that works with the other medicines in the hospital, whatever. So this is when they need you to say, no, actually, hospitals are okay with, they understand, and they do have rules, but the rules don't negate that you can have some before chemo and some right after, and you will be very much less nauseous.
Also,
and I had the amazing opportunity after being in the hospital for 59 days over 4 months that I was there with the main doctor, the main guy, and his little gaggle of geese behind him with their clipboards. They were following him on the interns, and I was on his list. It was a teaching day, and so he came in, and when the doctor asked me how things were going, I said, well, I really appreciate you prescribing the second best antiemetic you can to keep me from throwing up, Zofran. And of course, what do you mean the second best? Cannabis is best, and I'm not allowed to use that. And I kid you not, because I don't ever have to kid about this stuff. I had the little stainless steel bowl to vomit in right there. And as we were talking, I started feeling ill. And I talked through it. And the way it worked out for all these little interns was, he goes, how's that working out? And vomited without making noise for the first time in my life, which is wow, for me. But it was such a perfect response, and I could almost feel this half a dozen interns getting out of there with a little education, and then always mentioning that it hasn't changed. Apparently 14% of medical colleges do not teach anything about the endocannabinoid system.
And that's what I was just about to touch on, is that you have to understand you have to tell these people, especially your friend Lefty, that sure, the hospitals may say we're okay with cannabis use, but a lot of those doctors are unknowingly in someone's pocket for prescriptions or something else, or the whole hospital, or the hospital's information that they're dominating over people is fed by prescription companies. You have to tell them that there are still lies being pushed about cannabis by doctors, by prescription companies, by hospitals.
But it's not the truth. It's not them knowingly pushing lies in many cases. So if I'm a doctor and I'm in one of the best medical colleges in the country and they don't teach the endocannabinoid system, and I trust them to teach me everything else, and they don't include that, you start thinking probably, well, maybe there's a reason only 14% do it, which is such a long discussion, you'll never be able to have it.
So I have a theory on that. I have a theory on what you just said there. So when you take an oath to serve as a doctor, part of that oath is the continuing journey and the concept that this is an ever-flowing, ever-changing, ever-evolving field that you will have to do research on and keep yourself up to date with. Ignoring one aspect that has proven medical benefits to it and just saying, no, one department said that's bad, so I'm not going to even look into it. I'd argue that's a sense of malpractice in your role. I don't know. I'm just saying, if you're choosing not to do the research that would make you a better doctor in what we have available in this day and age, I don't know. I feel like the same time when an officer chooses job over oath, I feel like that's very similar.
I've had the conversation with doctors, more than a few, and I've always come away convinced their real concern is, would they actually ever have a malpractice suit? And that they would say, well, for that, no, nobody, because it's not required that I do it.
I'll go you one better. I'll go you one better.
Go.
My palliative care doctor, he's wonderful, and he is a big fan of what I am doing, and he fully supports it. And he told me if I ever needed a speaker, he would be more than happy
Really?
to come out. However, because he works in a state facility,
Yep.
his hands are tied. He cannot renew my medical card. They cannot really discuss it because it's a state environment. So the government, again,
Intervening.
I thought that was pretty interesting.
You know what I find interesting, though? That a lot of the intervention that I'm seeing with cannabis right now is less about what they want to tell us how to do things and what to do with things, and more about business.
Yeah.
In a sense.
Oh, yeah.
Which I don't want to put it in a light like that's a good thing, but isn't it a better sign to have laws popping up about cannabis based around sales and, I guess, distribution rather than whether or not we can even use it?
Well, it's a government operation, so that should give you the answer.
Right.
But at the end of the day, I think, and in my case, I want to get people out. I want them to get in there. I want to tell them what they need to know. I want to have, I have one ebook, Cannabis 101. It's all about the education. And you get them out, get them involved. If it's a 55 plus community, if they'd let us in to have an event, and it's got to be grassroots. That's the only way to do it.
Yes.
I don't care how high tech.
I understand your target audience for the senior citizens. I will tell you though, and I have full confidence that you'd be able to reach a wider audience than that if you tried. There are so many, not just seniors, but kids that are just coming out of living with their parents, who have probably dominated them with certain stigmas about cannabis, who are looking for an education that to not just do by themselves about cannabis.
Soccer moms.
People coming from other countries, soccer moms, yes.
They get really stigmatized. And it's funny, you go on Amazon, you can find a little insert to put in one of those Stanley cups that holds 6 shots of liquor that you can pump into your Stanley while people think you're drinking water.
Yep.
Now that's okay, but don't be going and sitting in your car and smoking a pre-roll. Shame on you.
Yeah. I definitely, to that one, and I'm definitely one person to try to play devil's advocate to everything in a day and age. People won't even see certain sides to things. And I will say that I think that at a soccer event or a public gathering like that, Jay's probably not the best thing, Clean Air Act and everything like that. A vape. And that's the other thing I think we need to do. I think we need to say that there's a stigma to smoking at a public event like a soccer event, not because of the cannabis, because of the Clean Air Act. Have an edible, vape, do something that's less intrusive on other people's properties. The point is, the underlying message there isn't that your friend over there is going to look at you funny for eating an edible. They can't tell whether that's an edible or a regular gummy or not from afar. So it's a lot of people afraid of judgment too.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, that's why I agree that Liz could certainly reach a wider audience. But if I'm in the target audience of senior citizens, and I know that's all somebody does, I feel more at ease, more confident. You know what I mean?
Feels better
I'm just, I mean, at a, especially in their environment of a senior citizen living quarters almost anywhere you can. There's so many places like that. Liz, how do you spread this around? Do you ever just cold call or send things out? I mean,
Well, I'm just launching.
how do people find out about you that are those institutions?
Well, I'm actually just starting out, and I'm creating a school community online, SKOOL, and that's going to be launching in a few weeks. But what I do is I do go to dispensaries. I talk to them. I go to cannabis events. I went down to one March 22nd, I think, in Ventnor City. It was a Rise Up Women's Cannabis event
Where I'm sorry, I didn't hear where was that? I didn't
in Ventnor City, down by.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It was a great event. I'm networking with people. I'm
think-
trying to get my name out. I went to a 420 event on Saturday at the Rebecca Finn House.
How is that
And-
place? I've been
Oh
wanting to go there.
God, it's
Is it
gorgeous.
nice? Really?
It's beyond nice.
I gotta go. I gotta
You
go.
have
It's
to.
really nice.
Absolutely. And it was a great event. And, there were vendors there, and crafters, and it was a wonderful time. And that's what I go to these events. I talk to the vendors. I have a sheet. It's called an elevator sheet that I hand out with my business cards. And I tell them about my marketing business. And I tell them about my senior, Liz
Have you
Light.
met Just a Woman Cannabis yet?
Marjorie is like one of my best friends.
She's wonderful.
I love her.
Wonderful.
I
I'm
love
gonna
her.
I'm gonna hand you this little gem right here. Go suggest it to them. A little segment you do for them called "Just an Old Woman."
Justin. Oh,
There you go. For you.
I love that.
You could go with them to events and you'd sit right next to them and be like,
Yep.
here for the seniors here.
Yeah.
that's
And actually,
pretty good.
if you follow them on Instagram, she has they did a video for Saturday, and there's one clip with me and Marjorie. Yeah, I love
was
them.
If you check their Instagram, they were in Delran the Saturday before 420. Their little reel there. I'm the one holding the tent.
They're great, and let me tell you,
I love them. They're such a great energy.
Yeah.
And they're very friendly, and they just want everyone to do well.
Right. I mean, Marjorie grabbed my hand and said, "Come here. You need to talk to Angie." And she's like, "Angie, this is Liz," and she helped me with the networking. But it's talking to people. It's talking to everyone.
Yes.
Anybody who listens to me, like my kids are so sick of hearing me, it's ridiculous. And you know what?
Tell
I'll
me
smoke with
about
them
it.
so they'll deal with it.
Love you just gotta find that wavelength. Like it's not even like reference points or like the general topic. Like don't talk about weed. I think you really just gotta put it in a proper context for them. Like how I try to do it for like at least someone of that age is like say like, hey, if you're looking for something right after work, you want to just sit home, game. You should try some of this Jurassic Haze by Timeless. It's a sativa haze. It gets you in a state where you can focus, but you're not feeling like you need to get up. Definitely putting it in a context of like their activities, their interests, and not so much any keyword or anything like that. I gotta ask, have you tried senior centers at apartments?
I'm sorry, say again?
Have you tried senior centers at different apartments? I definitely think there are some apartments out there that if you went and said, hi, I'd like to do whatever your senior day is, or if you have a senior center, I'd love to just set up something there and talk to them about educating them better in cannabis.
That's a great idea. Like I said, shush. I'm just starting, and I've started with the dispensaries, and anybody I run into. I still work a full-time job. So most of my visiting is done on the weekends.
Ask what kind of dog do you have?
I'm sorry?
What kind of dog do you have?
I have 3 Chihuahuas. They're little dogs.
I bet they're spoiled rotten if I'm reading you right.
Huh?
I said I bet they're spoiled rotten if I'm reading you right.
That's subjective.
I kick them now and then. They don't go far.
Well, that's
But
meat.
the point is that they eat real chicken.
Yes. Yes, at times they do.
I love that. What are their
Now I'm
names?
starving.
We have
Yeah.
Bailey, we have Chelsea, and we have Dash. They're all
Who's the oldest?
rescues.
Did forgot what I was going
Who's the
to ask.
oldest?
Should we do that?
The oldest.
They are actually all about the same age. They're probably about 6 months apart. Bailey is the oldest. She was 3 in January, and the other 2 are going to be 3 in like May and June.
I love that. They get along well.
Oh yeah, and you know they allow me to sleep in their bed at times.
I like the fact that they have a bed that you need to get their okay to sleep in.
Oh God, yes, we have to. It's a project every night. You know, thank God I have a little container on my night table with a bunch of vapes in it.
Okay.
So you know I'm well prepared.
You know,
Have you met the Canaweens yet?
Can of wings?
No, the Canaweens. Oh, they're wonderful. They're this couple with 2 dachshunds that go to a lot of dispensary events.
I may have seen them in at Anja's event.
Yes. Wait, are you talking about like this year or like a past one?
Last year.
At the end of the summer.
Right, their Anja event at the end of the summer.
So I was there for that with Timeless. That's probably where you either that or Air is where you remembered me from.
It might either or because I was there. I actually got a Timeless case because I bought a cart.
So what's your favorite of their strains?
Black raspberry, I think it is.
I like the raspberry. I gotta tell you, their new lines they've been putting out too, like the Alien Rock Candy. That one I loved. I love a good indica that doesn't make you feel like urge to bed. That like and that leads to another good thing. How I break down cannabis to people. When you have people that think like, oh, you know, it's sativa for up, indica for down. No, think about it like this. When you talk about a child with Adderall, there's usually the thought that they'll either go up or go down. There's a reason for that. Because you're either at a point where you're either so wound up that you need to be brought down to a bit to be able to have a straight thought, or you're so bogged down that you need to be lifted up to be able to have that straight thought. Indica and sativa is more situational than just time of day. It really is.
It's all terpenes. I base my weed on terpenes. My beta carotene, my myrcene, and now my new favorite is humulene. I love
Lefty, what was
humulene.
that one we read? Let me tell you. So I got a nice sample from the marketing team over at Mad Hatter, and they gave me a Jersey Smooth cart from Boardwalk West. Now, let me tell you, I love the cart. Lefty can vouch for it too. He enjoyed it too. Let me read you some of the things on here we've got that throw me off a little bit. First of all, Fenchol, Fenchol. I'd never heard that terpene before or additive. Menthol, 0.07%. So
Yeah, I have the same one.
Did
I
you
like
notice
it.
that?
Yeah, I like it. I like the vape.
Yes, the Boardwalk Bliss is very good.
It is. It doesn't make me all jittery.
No.
I stayed away from sativas for a long time because of that. You know, and I had stopped smoking because it's had years and years ago because it stopped being fun. I was getting all paranoid all the time. So I'm like, you know, I got to dial it back. And I stopped smoking.
Try Timeless's Jurassic Haze, their new one. If that's your, oh my God, I love that one. It's a strawberry citrus cream kind of vibe.
Ooh.
And it's haze. You sit down, you smoke it, you sit down at about 5 o'clock to do whatever your computer or watch your TV or play your game, and then you get up again, you're like, it's midnight and it's dark outside now.
Wow. Okay. I can do that.
It's very, and the taste. Lefty, you tried it. If he's still there. No, he's texting.
Absolutely amazing.
Yes, there you
Super terpy.
There's a
And
lot
that
of
one that begins with an F. What's that one that begins with an F?
Fecal.
No, it's not fecal.
Yeah, no, fecal. FENCHOL.
Fenchol. What is fenchol?
To that point, though, I think that an interesting point I had brought up with I work at Garden State Natural Greens in Princeton. We just are about to have our grand opening, and I was asking him as I was going through our inventory, the owner Andrew or the manager was saying, are we going to get more concentrate than just onyx? And he said, I'd like you to observe our audience. And I thought about it for a moment. Princeton is very similar to Fairhaven, Red Bank area. A lot of rich, uppity people who don't know a lot about cannabis. They know their cards, they know their flower. You start bringing up dabs and terpenes, they get scared. So, there's definitely more of a demographic of a different sect of people who are more familiar with the various products of cannabis, whereas that area is going to stick in their comfort zone, and you really got to embrace them and there's a reason to embrace people to try different things, not just to sell them different stuff, but because just like taking a tea break, your body is very aware of when you switch things up.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go from smoking to dabs, you're going to notice a completely different high in a great way.
As long as you don't overdo it.
And I was chuckling before, and I really didn't mean to. I thought, well, nobody take it wrong, because I've never in all my years, and I've had more years than anybody doing this, I've never heard a senior citizen say something like, it's all about terpenes. And that really made me, because it just was so obviously natural, because it is, because you do know about it, but I hadn't been in that situation before, and I chuckled, and now I can see myself, so I see me chuckling, and I just wanted to say that on the outside chance anybody thought that wasn't funny. It's true. Why? No, I was laughing because it's very true, and it was that it's about terpenes.
You got it.
It was the offhanded manner and total surety that would convince
Jim,
another senior citizen as well. That's why it's making me trying to see how it might be for somebody that knows little, and then that you have their trust, and then it's going to be received by them differently by somebody that knows 10 times as much. It's half as young. It's
something you see often in the cannabis industry. I mean, younger people are going to know terpenes more because they're of this time when cannabis is up and coming. Whereas usually the senior citizen that I got or still get as a patient or a customer is, listen, I've been smoking weed since you were in your little baby booties, all right? I know what I'm talking about. Just give me the highest THC percentage there is, and I'll be on my way.
I love it.
I just have I give it maybe 2 attempts to try to point them in a more specific direction, or really any direction other than just blind THC hunting. And then after that fails, I let them go on their way. But that's definitely what you see more with the older audience as far as recent, is the assurity that what they've been doing blindly without they think about it, blindly with various different strains of weed, maybe tampered with, maybe not, is their consistent way of doing things.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, I was 64 or 65 when I purchased my first legal cannabis at Curaleaf dispensary. I don't even think it was called Curaleaf then. It became Curaleaf right after. And when I got out of the car, I could smell it, and that blew me away. I'm outside, and I could smell it, and there wasn't a lot of people there at all. So when it comes down to how can I help you? What do you want? It was. I'm wondering now, hearing this, how. Well, I don't think it would have been somebody even that was be considered a bud tender. But what would they think when I'm the one walks in and I go, I don't know, it's my first time buying anything like this legally. I'd like whatever stinks the most. In other words, what's going to get me in the most trouble for somebody smelling it? I want that.
You know what? I want
Yeah,
you to. I want that to actually happen where you try that at a dispensary, and the minute you say that, someone comes up and says, "No, you're Chip Miller. You know what you're talking about."
No, well, see, the thing is, I know people that know a lot about things at my disposal. So there's so much to learn. I become dependent on those that know more than me already. All the time. I mean, I don't try, and I'm not lazy, but there's just so much going on. So terpenes is one of my weakest suits. I understand. I didn't know there was a such thing as terpenes till like 3-4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, well, yeah. Well, then I want the one that tasted like juicy fruit gum that I used to have 35-40 years ago. There were better or more dominant terpenes then. If you got something really quality, I mean, once you got past Jamaican and Mexican, and well, it became a little more international. There was just some that smelled fruity, but I swear one of them had it was like chewing juicy fruit gum. That feeling you get back in your down here and into. And I want that, and I can't find it anywhere. I mean, I don't feel that cannabis has noticeable terpene profiles, or I am just that ignorant.
I think
knowing that I'm ignorant, by the way, is my strong suit. Because
I think that you definitely
that
would get that experience more if you tried more concentrates. 100%.
Yeah, I don't trust
Lefty can vouch for this. The Tropical Teleport Chemdog Grapefruit I shared with him. He smelled that right even before I pulled it out of the packaging. They call it concentrate for a reason. For multiple factors.
Well, there's another end around that I do. I basically chew juicy fruit gum while I'm smoking pot, and then it tastes like juicy fruit gum. but I used to.
That's a good workaround.
I used to have a little house behind a house that had occasional skunk that would get under it no matter what I did, and when they would go off, it would be a problem. But afterwards, it was never a problem as long as there was cannabis smoke, because the cannabis smoke, when I was smoking, all of a sudden it wasn't an offensive smell as it was dissipating. So I'd cover it with cannabis smoke. It was just, freaking, and it wouldn't be horrible in the house, but yeah, it's like real noticeable.
And the thing I try to put in perspective for people as far as advising, and I think, Liz, this is another good way I think you can relate to this as someone with your experience with cannabis and a good tool to use with people, is when they list their projected expectations of, the weed from the dispensary, this, that, and the third thing. I like to tell people, I can count on not even a full one hand the amount of times in my life before legalization that I've had a Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas style dealer who had the array of stuff, who'd pull out like he'd open his trunk and there'd be like moon rocks and this and that and that and that and that. And in a way to say to them, like, first of all, that's there and more what you're getting at the dispensary now. Variety, different stuff. To the other point, that what other points in the past can you really say that you're getting this type of quality? Yeah, maybe missing some aspects that you would like. You really have to reasonably think where those aspects came from, if they were additives or really naturally part of that, versus what is real at the dispensary.
I have a friend. He was our best. He was best man at our wedding 30 plus years ago. And it's been smoking pot as long as I've known him. And I have told him, I am a very big advocate in medical cards. I have told him time and again, get your medical card and let's go to the dispensary. No, listen, I still get my stuff from Mike, and Mike, hooks me up, and I'm like, you have no idea. And he's like, and dispensaries are so expensive. I'm like, mm-mm.
And you know how I combat that? There's a wonderful way I say that. I tell the story of when I first heard recreational start happening. I've told this story all the time where I contacted all my loyal dealers and I said, listen, I'm going to give you my piece of advice as someone who's been paying attention on this. Recreational is coming. People are creatures of convenience. And if you pull your usual dealer BS and say, oh, be there, I don't have this, or blah, 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 they're going to go to the dispensary. That's just simple as that. So it's been very disappointing, but I use this as a tool to get people there, is to say it's very disappointing how I see so many dealers right now turning the path of either them or the person they get their weight from doing something to that bud to make the people return. You know you're getting clean bud at this point, and you really got to make them ask themselves, why are you returning to that bud? Let me see it. Let me look at that. It doesn't look too great. You're like, what kind of high are you getting? Are you, if they describe that high as like disorienting and, you know, kind of just away from the zonk out, then you might question if there's something added to that bud.
Right.
Add to that, though, that the results that came from the general testing of dispensaries that showed contamination at 28%, was it?
30. And again,
30.
I hope we all look at that.
No,
as,
I'm saying, but that fits into what you were saying. I'm nodding my head because I feel the same.
Yeah.
Except that's on a new wrinkle of the last few weeks. I'll actually, and it makes sense. I mean, I understand, especially packaging a product. You know, the way you have to pack it's not.
But you
gonna be
understand
easy.
even more that it's been worse in the past.
Yeah, but it's just that. Yeah, I buy. I have like a severe financial situation, so I still have somebody that would be somebody I know well, and I figure it's no worse of a rate of some sort of contamination, but I absolutely trust without doing it on purpose, you know, which is a real thing too, which definitely would, you know, somebody said, I got a guy. No, if it's not my guy, I don't use anybody else's guy, you know. And I really just assume, well, of course, I'd just assume be growing my own. That's my patient concern. I mean, I have a laser focus on one thing. I am a specialist when it comes to my advocacy at this point. But I help other people with their areas. In other words, if you ever say, Jim, can you be somewhere for something? If it was within my range, I would. It wouldn't have to do with home grow. But I only initiate and spend the majority of my time on that because it's the way it naturally is, but it's also the way it should be. If somebody wanted to know about the emerging senior rise in medical cannabis consumption and curiosity, you would be the person I would suggest because that is your specialty. But it's certain,
Yeah, and there's a couple of add-ins to it, and part of it. I know it's not a senior specific issue. These are issues that happen with people across every demographic. Packaging and labels.
Oh yeah.
I mean, some of this packaging you need a chisel to open. The Ziploc bags are ridiculous. No, I'm dead ass.
No, they are.
The RSO packages are impossible. That little cap at the top.
Yeah, I have
Oh my
arthritis.
god.
Yeah.
You know,
I
and
can't do it. I have
seniors,
arthritis.
you know,
Yeah, they don't want to be. They got arthritis. They don't want to be messing with that.
yeah. And some of the pre-roll packaging, they're getting better. Kind is the worst. But I'm gonna have to talk to them about that. But the Ziplocs and then the labels, there's, you know, I get it. The government puts a lot on the cultivators on what they need to report on this label. So you have to have like 2010 vision to read that. I came up with an idea, and I pitched it to
Gave me an idea.
somebody over at Kind Tree. In things like Tylenol and children's Tylenol, the label on the back actually peels up and is a little accordion folder of information. The label can be the absolute same size, but you can peel it and it accordions to all the information
That's good.
in a higher font.
That's success. You know, ideas. I write them down because stuff. I got a carnival in my head and stuff just comes and goes.
Oh my God, me too.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
so-
Well, then you understand. But I got here packaging video. Yeah. What it is I'm looking at people here as if we're all in one area and we're not. And to me, it's underused for certain things. Like we could have people with the exact same packages, like senior citizens, you know, ready to, and then just you see it. Well, I can't. Oh, my finger. So, and then it's just a conversation between people all trying to do the same thing. Wow, that would be really good. A good YouTube short, you know, because it's so easy to understand, but there's something about seeing it. You know, I mean, with me, I hate it when I tear something to get at the actual opening, you know, where you can pull it apart and it zip, you know, and some still don't understand that an even equal tear means I can't get my fingers between it. I can't separate it. And now it's this close to what's holding a thing shut, you know. There's only a million ways they could do better, and most do. But
and one other thing that I think is very important with education between all of this is how to use products, how to clean products, how to care for products. Vapes, for example, have to be stood up or they'll clog.
Batteries have to, like for carts, you got to keep those out of the temperature sensitive area so they don't get clogged up or ooze into your device.
What's the best way to clean a bong? What's the best way to, you know, how do you do it? I want people to tell me what they do.
yeah.
And then with edibles, I always tell people, because the big thing I always get is, oh, edibles don't work for me. I don't feel high with them. I say, I challenge you to go get a new bag. Before you take them, take stock of yourself, and before you eat them, your mental state, your awareness, how awake you are, all of that. Write it down if you have to. Then take it. An hour later, compare notes. It's a great way to build awareness for people about what the edibles are actually doing in their head. Because what they're looking for is a head high.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen with edibles.
No, yeah, I all the time try to get people to understand. Yeah, that's really a good summation, by the way. But for me, I try to explain to people what I saw 20 years ago at a Patients at a Time conference in California somewhere. The first really documented. Okay, here's a graph of getting high smoking, you know, which would look like this, and I accept however they come up with that because I'm a theory, not like actual numbers. But it made sense when I said, well, an edible, which I was not that familiar with, you know. I mean, I would have edibles and not feel high. I would have amazing amounts of edibles and not feel, especially the Chadberry, a guy named, well, his name's Chad, and we call him Chadberry because he was first Candyman back in 2000. When I met him, he came to an event. And I had a box of white chocolate. I love white chocolate. And because I wasn't getting high, I had a whole box of white chocolate. But then we went out and spent $200 for 4 people takeout for seafood, but cooked and stuff, you know. And then the next day I was thinking, man, that was a lot of money, but it didn't seem like it last night. And then, so what I've taken to doing is it wasn't even eating cookies that I would make, but just taking a certain amount of balm when I'm going to be doing anything that I need focus on, and it's going to take a few hours, it could be yard chores, it could be researching something, but I want to be in my zone. And what happens is if I have an edible and then take a couple of puffs 15, 20 minutes later, it's different than either. I mean, it isn't the same. It doesn't make me like that. I'm actually, and there's something about the combination, and that's just the way I do it. I'm not saying it's even the best way to do it, but to combine the two is fantastic, and it's less smoking, which is why I do it, because my lungs have more.
You're not the first person I've heard that from with smoking a few minutes after you eat a gummy.
Wonderful.
And you know what else I heard the other day? This was new to me, and I don't know how true this is. There's this comedian I follow. His name is Stoner Gump.
Okay.
Stoner Gump? I get it.
He, he talks about his experience with the Lord's lettuce, so on and so forth. And what happens when he does it in different ways. It's a comedy thing. But he was saying how he had taken, and I swear to God, he talked about this, and it may be true, I don't know, RSO, because he had been told women do this for cramps, and it's very good at alleviating pain, putting RSO right directly into your belly button.
Yes. Okay. So
Why
the
not?
structure
Yes.
of your belly button, the reason why
Lefty
you
should
sometimes
do that.
feel like there's like some blood or something that you find if you ever put your finger in there. It is, at the end of the day, your belly button is a twist into there, so there's much more susceptible room for it to get in. I'm going to try that now. That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
He used the whole thing, and that was just a little too much.
I'd imagine so.
It is
but
belly button.
I'm
too
probably
hot.
going to try a couple drops later.
Yeah.
I will say another cool trick I like is when people tell me, I have a vaporizer, but, I'm not feeling like I get the most use out of it. I say, well, you can always smoke the flower afterwards. However, what I do is I get the flower that I vaped, and because you vaped it, you've decarbed it like you would for edibles.
Exactly.
So what I do is I go to the store, I get that natural peanut butter, the really oily stuff. You spread it on a bagel, whatever you want, and then sprinkle the weed on top of it. Throw it in the microwave for a minute.
Firecracker.
All that THC oil is going to seep right into the peanut butter, and you have yourself what's called a firecracker.
Yep.
I suggest that a lot of the times to people who also feel like, oh, well, I like edibles, but I like them this way or that way. I'm like, well, pick how you like them this way.
Firecrackers, terpenes, man. I'm chuckling a bunch now.
Oh, and one other thing. This is really important. Well, I think it's important. It's just my opinion.
Yes.
Part of this school community, I am going to put together a course. I'm putting together a course for bud tenders to become senior support specialists.
Sign me up.
Oh, awesome. And it's a certificate course. You get a certificate from me for whatever that's worth. And
That's worth a lot.
well, thank you. And I would like to create Silver Star dispensaries.
Silver Star.
Where
Okay.
it is a dispensary that is handicap accessible, ADA compliant. However, if they aren't because of their location and they cannot be, they need to provide delivery for people to get their medication. They also have to have at least one senior support specialist. They need to have a section where they have information for seniors, perhaps a specific monitor that has a larger font that makes it easy for people to read. And the list keeps growing as I think about it.
Yes. Sign me up. And I
Braille.
highly
Can have
you
Braille.
to
Yes, very good. Yes.
bring this program over to Kingston near Princeton, New Jersey, to Garden State Natural Greens. Like I said, we are about to have our grand opening, and a lot of our population is older people. A lot of our customer base so far has been older people. And I think that I'd have to talk to him a little bit about that, but I think he'd love to hear from you in general about that concept. But otherwise, sign me up.
Yeah. And the other thing I'm going to be doing, I mean, you've spent a little time with me now. I am who I am. What you see is what you get. I'm going to be doing reviews, detailed reviews of different strains. And if the dispensaries donate the product, which, you know, they will be the sponsor, they will get 3 mentions in a YouTube video. They're linked in the description. And in the description, I'm going to have the top terpenes in a nice large font. I will promote the weed. Then I will go off camera, smoke it, come back, and give a detailed description of how I'm feeling head down. I implore you to check out some of the on my Instagram or YouTube. I've done several strain reviews. There's a way you can do that without pissing off anyone in the CRC or getting anyone in the hot water. With basically sticking to, you know, a certain way of referring to certain things. If you watch the video, you'll see how I do it. I also love to help. I do a lot of video editing. So please, if you need help with that, let me know. Oh my God. Yes. 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 I take all the help I can get. Any knowledge I can get, I just suck it up like a sponge.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah. And honestly, back in the 70s, early 80s, there was a clothing store chain in New Jersey. And the guy used to do commercials on TV. And at the end of every commercial, he would say, an educated consumer is our best customer.
It rings a bell.
So you gotta find a video of that and recreate it. I'll tell you one thing right now. If there's one thing that people of that demographic love that I've found, it's a good callback to back then.
Back in the day.
It's I utilize callbacks all the time to think in my videos to things people don't even know, but I was like, it's special to me. So that's I appreciate a good callback. I think people of your age would definitely appreciate a relevant one more than anyone else, especially as obscure as that. I feel like that would be like if you heard like a redux of the Sleepy's jingle. Like who remembers Sleepy's anymore? Yeah. Yeah. This was Sims clothing store.
Sims, that's right, Sims. Hey, 4 out of 5 doctors recommend Verano.
No, hey. Yeah.
Well,
the number one recommended.
I love that.
Okay, somebody explain me a little sidebar. What does number one recommended? What does that mean? It's not most used. It's not physician recommended number. It's number one recommended. To me, means absolutely nothing. You can say it about anything. Number one recommended. When that came along, I got kind of pissed off because there was always like a way around what they would try to say. I mean, I could find out what wasn't being said. But yeah, so anyway, eventually I'm going to be using it myself then. Number one recommended. What does that mean? I don't know. I actually want to...
Liz, there's a line of products by this company, Vera Warrior, I think they are, or Veda Warrior. Veda Warrior, yes. She's got infused oils. She's got, yes. And water, that's the person I'd like to harass when I get a 55 plus community where she can go in and teach them, because this is what they're into at this point. And here's another thing too. At that point, have you ever heard of the Levo? I've heard the name. I'm trying to. It's a butter maker, but it's basically. Oh, okay, yeah. It fits in with everything else on your counter. It looks like a Keurig, and you basically just pop the weed in there, pop the butter. It does the rest. Yeah. I got one for my best friend for her wedding. She loves it. Her mom, while she's a iffy person about cannabis, she does always say, "Oh, that's not." Oh, she always compliments it, and always. So that's why I always see the fighting cannabis user in her. It's entertaining. Yeah, she's kind of curious. Let me tell you, this woman comes. She's about your age, so she comes from that era where it was the thing. She acknowledges that she smoked a lot in that time, but she hasn't. They all live in Florida, so it's a different story down there.
Yeah. Well, Saturday when I was at the Rebecca Finn house, Lowell Farms was there, and she gave me an ashtray.
Okay.
Yeah. She also gave me a pre-roll, so that was really good.
Yes.
And this is the ashtray. Now,
Oh, I love those. They're wonderful.
okay. She actually gave me two. I gave my son one, and he's like, "Oh no! If I put this down, Ken's is going to use it, and no, this is for show."
Yes.
So and when I was talking to her, name is Jen, the girl from Lowell's Farms, and to me, that screams Americana.
Yes. Yes.
It
the
screams-
cows, the farms.
Yeah, it screams of a time when life was easier. Our parents had like these kind of ashtrays from different states, and
A kind of place you could go to and someone would look at you and just be like, "Oh, we don't accept that fancy credit card stuff here."
yeah,
That kind of simple.
Home.
Well,
Yes.
when you were talking about saving money and everything, first thing went through my head, I wasn't going to mention that was green stamps. Green
oh
stamps.
yeah,
That was fun. I like, but that was way back.
and there's no reason why that can't be done again. I mean, these
There
are fun things.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a different color. Oh, green stamps. So think about it. Green cannabis, green stamps. I've heard of that. It's probably not a licensed, copyrighted name or anything.
Yeah, because they were S&H green stamps.
S&H, right? So you could just call them
Yeah.
green stamps.
And
I
then
think
there was
that-
another one. They were red or orange. A&P
There
used to.
definitely
Yeah, but
is room,
but
though, I
green
feel,
stamps
though, in
is
the
that's what's
industry.
going to be in people's
Yeah.
heads, maybe.
Or because let's be honest, we all acknowledge all the time that seniors are a huge user of the cannabis industry. In the cannabis
We're
industry,
the OGs. We are the
It-
OGs,
it-
baby.
blows my mind that there's not one brand that's keeping up with like that era as far as like making it marketable to them.
Hey,
As in, like,
yeah.
That's what I'm here for.
I personally want to see a strain called Steamboat Willie. That's what I want. I want the strain names that are based on like old Don Knotts TV shows with like his face on the
or the
My
original
favorite
Mickey Mouse.
Martian.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Ed. How have they not done a Twilight Zone thing yet? How?
Or Crypt Keeper.
Like,
Any
just,
of
like
it.
it's very easy. I've even done it in my own content. Black and white screen, guy in a tie. Imagine, if you will, a time or something like this. Welcome to the Stone Zone. It's very easy. It's very easy. It's just kind of a slower version of the Captain Kirk that I've done before.
Okay, yeah. No, it's just so much. It's
so
such
much.
an untapped
This is-
market.
And it's because that's where, sure, there may have been cannabis use in the 40s, 50s, where it really started. That's where the scene gave birth in that era, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s.
Then
Woodstock.
That's where the rebellion started, where we're like, we don't care if this is illegal. This is awesome.
Woodstock.
a market.
There was no damn hippies.
You want to market to seniors, okay? Why not? Just say, using exactly what we're talking about. There's little keywords, phrases that might not even instantly go, oh, that was in My Favorite Martian. Just something that that was Nanu Nanu. That was Mork.
Yeah, they
Okay,
do that with
but
they
to
don't
name-
exactly
name-
call strain Star Wars, but they'll throw
Products
the
like
word
that.
Wookiee.
Star
Happy
Wars
Days.
before Star Wars, okay, and even before Happy Days.
The Fonzie.
I would look at actually where people. Well, I don't want to say they're mid 70s because of me, but at that point, what was the center? What was going on then? Because there just is a lot of where's the beef? I mean, does
Yeah, you have
anybody
to
not
follow-
remember Clara Peller, the old woman in the Wendy's commercials? Where's the beef?
This
You
is
know,
what about
here-
the Snapple lady?
Wait, what? The Snapple lady?
I don't know.
Oh,
I completely forgot about that.
I'm not sure I even remember.
The last, I'm gonna be
What
honest,
happened to
the
Vitamin
last-
Supreme?
The
Remember
last
Vitamin
big- the last-
Supreme?
That I
No,
don't remember.
no, me neither.
The
I'm
last
over.
big
I'm
blast
over
from the
too
past
much.
I got really as far as that kind of stuff was when I worked over at the Keensburg Boardwalk. Because that if you want to dose, if you want to go escape to a couple like 10, 15 years ago, go to the Keensburg Boardwalk during the summer.
Oh, yeah.
Hasn't changed much, and it's kind of refreshing, honestly. Like you go into the arcades, they still have a Betty Boop machine in there.
It's nice that some things don't change. Not everything has to be new and improved.
I think, and I argue this all the time, that there is that constant phrase as you get older of like, oh, things were better in my day. And we can all say with certainty comparatively now that things are different. However, aside from all of the obvious, I think there was a very special, potent, specific reason why the time period between the 70s and the 90s were very special. The birth of the internet, the cannabis culture that we were talking about that was hidden in the shadows. Just the look of you'd get home on a Sunday in a summer day in the afternoon on like in the 90s, and just the look of a TV in the summer with that type of screen and the tone of the sound. Something about it was magical.
Yep.
So
There were good times.
it
They
really
were
was.
good
And I do say this, though. There are a lot of glimpses into that time now. You see a lot of things being brought back to life in good ways. Old concepts, like I think I saw there was a workshop. I don't know if this came to fruition, but there was a talks about a speakeasy in or something like that to get food in New York. What was it called? With all the little doors that you'd open up, you put like a quarter or some money in.
Oh,
and
an automat.
yeah, that there was talks about doing that with like empanada for a while. So it's like those kinds of things that you see pop up. I think there's a special in its own way magic in its own way that it refers to that point, but it's like, hey, come back now.
Horn and Harder would be the go-to for automat back then. You know, I mean, they were like top of the hill, and that was like a really cool thing then because it was so futuristic somehow. But what I've noticed is there's pictures on Facebook a lot that just pictures, no meme, anything, just sort of putting it back in the day. And a lot are simply from the 70s, especially the early 70s, like the just after 60 aftershock. And it's just hanging around a car, barefoot, certain clothes, certain kind of hair, doing nothing. And people put it up like, and other people are like, wow, that must have been great. I'm thinking they're doing versions of it now, but back then it was great because we had so much less and enjoyed shit so much more than people are enjoying anything today.
Absolutely.
It doesn't involve something high speed, it's people don't know really how to just chill, because, and it's sort of, nobody knows, not nobody, but very many people, what it's like to be driving somewhere and be alone,
And
not a phone. And even if you did have a phone, somebody else wouldn't have a phone. When you were gone, you were gone. You were as gone as if you were in another country,
Yes.
And okay, when I walked across the state pushing Cheryl's wheelchair, which signed medical marijuana for MS in 1993, I had no phone. I was as alone as I could possibly be. And then one of my friends checked out New to Pass, came out with his wife around 12:30 and found me just going west in Freehold now at night. And he brought a joint, and we had some, and it was really good because I wanted to carry any. Man, I'm asking to be stopped by the police, and it was being covered. It was being monitored by the media, like pretty good. So, I had that safety. And safe as it was just, nobody knows that lonesomeness, that, and you need to be self-reliant. And what do you do when the car breaks down? You don't know how to fix it. It's the middle of the night. You don't quite know where you are. And all you got is a freaking map that folds out to be this big. but you don't know how to find where you are in the map. You can't just go, oh, there I am on the map.
Yeah.
So there's a certain lack of self-reliance with a lot of people today.
That's an interesting point because I can
Totally,
very much see back in that time when you were without, like, you had your map and that's it. And if your car broke down in the middle of the night, I can very much see the mindset growing of like, this could be the end. Like, I'm in a dark road, no one coming either way. I could die here.
When it comes full circle, and Lefty knows knew Brian Cooper, who he was. I was at a festival and it was with him and his wife and his two kids who were like 16 and 14. And it wasn't like they were there smoking with everybody. They were there. And, you know, the way they ran things in their family is I trust them and it's going to be what it's going to be one way or the other anyway. But what happened is they got separated from each other and the 16-year-old comes up, Dad, I can't find him. What should I do? And we looked at each other and, you know, it occurs to me, son, that you could start walking the main path around the campground asking about him. Don't turn around and go the other way. Just keep going the same way. You know, you'd be doing it, you know, and he listened intently and went, yeah, good. And then it was just this moment we had without speaking that showed me there was, and it wasn't their fault, you know, even back then there was, you know, and that the reliance on cell phones was wonderful at the New York festivals because they were in places where there were no cell service, usually fairly remote New York, at large campgrounds that could be closed down for 4 days and, you know, therefore it's safe. But what would happen is, and I feel a little bad about it, not too much, there was a really large hill, and it was at the edge, not where people were camping. I mean, it is very hilly. And I'd go up there till some people were kind of hanging around, walking by, and I'd come down on my phone going, okay, you're fading. Yeah, I can't hear you. All right.
Monster.
And I'd come bounding on down. Without, I wouldn't say if they said you got reception, I would have said, nah, I'm messing with you. But they'd go running, they'd be getting their phones out, running up a hill. You know, because they were like younger, and I was the old guy at the festival. Okay, that was wrong. Maybe, I don't know. Old people get their kicks like that. Nobody even knows.
Listen, I get it. I've been there.
Yeah, but this is really fascinating. I knew it would be, but I'm still thinking this could be going on like a support group because, like, MS support group, other support groups. There was an MS caregiver support group one time. That was a physically show up. I showed up and found out I didn't belong there, man. Cheryl and I already had it wired, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my God, he won't let me cut his own meat. What should I do? I don't belong there. We already got, you know. I mean, it was. I just felt lucky, and I know they all had problems. And I didn't fit in, but anyway, you know, it's. I think there's probably at least a good portion that could learn if they had somebody to show them. Here's how you attend one of these Zoom meetings or a StreamYard thing that Lefty does.
Mm-hmm.
And it's relatively simple. And a lot of times this person's with somebody in a house who could simply set them up. But it would be kind of nice because they'd be looking at each other, talking, and still Lefty finds that, you know, cutting up some video testimonials for what am I still waiting for when it comes to home grow? It comes from conversations, just snippets of a conversation. And to have that happen on any subject and anybody that's good at editing video, yeah, I'm looking at you, Bucket Man. You can't tell.
Hey, you want to do a video right now? We could do it right now. It'll take you 1 minute. Literally 1 minute. All you have to do is say your name, what your illness is. You said it before, but I just want to do it in like 30 seconds.
reason
your
for
illness
being a
is,
patient, you know.
and
doesn't
your
have to be
reason,
an
yeah,
illness.
and how home grow would help you.
Okay.
Can you
Me?
do that? Like, yeah, no, Liz,
Well-
give me 30 seconds. Can you do
Okay.
that? And then we'll cut that up.
You got to ask first, would home grow help you? Because, you know,
No,
Liz
I
seems
met
to
Liz
be-
through the home grow group, so I know she
Yeah.
supports home grow.
Oh,
okay,
absolutely.
yeah. Okay.
You know, and honestly,
Well, how would
it's
I
not
know that?
something
Come on.
I would do because number one, you know, I couldn't do that to the plants.
Yeah.
I'm not a, you know,
Oh no, but somebody could do it
but I think
for
everybody.
you. There are so
No,
many
but I
people that
think
would
everybody
at
should
your own
have.
home.
I think everybody should have
Yeah.
have the ability, whether they choose to do it or not.
Oh,
I-
exactly. Yeah.
I believe there is enough skin in the game for everybody.
Yeah. And you know, it's not most couldn't I would when I can. I'm a patient, and I have grown before, and I wouldn't be growing so much what I'd be smoking because I probably wouldn't be able to grow that. But I can grow what I use for balm, which is my best topical, as well as an edible. You know, so that would cut the cost down to where I could go to dispensary
Mhm.
and get what I need. So yeah, it's just you know, that having the videos where several patients, and Lefty's done a couple that are really you know,
No, I
you
totally support it.
just see it. You know, we grew up with a saying, you know, a picture is worth 1,000 words, and you know, okay, well, the video is worth 1,000 pictures, and you don't have 20 years ago it was going to everybody, getting them together, traveling to houses. So just sitting here and doing this, it makes it all possible to be a little more open, and that's why having a group of seniors, you know, that would be okay. You know, I mean, some of them would be like, yeah, I wouldn't mind using my likeness, you know,
Yeah,
for something, and those who would, whatever.
yeah.
But it's there, and when there are people like our bucket man here, I just love that, who can do this and is willing. I'm
Mhm.
looking at all the ingredients on this page right here, this screen, that it's doable at some point. So if you're giving presentations or talks at in senior communities or residences, you know, this would be a place to be saying, oh, and by the way, for those who can do Zoom meetings or whatever, if there was 20 people there's probably five seniors that are going to be able to do that.
Why are we
I've
still
never
waiting?
really
Why?
run
am
any
I
of
still
this.
waiting?
What am I
through
still
my
waiting
mind.
for?
Why am I still waiting?
Why am I
Lefty
still
doesn't
waiting?
introduce
Why
shit.
are
He
we
just
still
throws it
waiting?
up.
Yeah, he does that.
No, there's a lag, and it's giving me a problem here. So let me try it again. Let me start from the top here. This is the video called "Still Waiting." This is 11 minutes long, though.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
11 minutes long. Shouldn't be that long. We have a shorter one. I'll just play a couple of them here. I'll just play a little bit of it.
Just play a section of it.
What am I waiting for?
Why are we still waiting?
Why am I
Can you
still
make that
waiting?
bigger?
What am I still waiting for?
Why am I still waiting?
Can you hear it?
Why am I still waiting?
Why
Yeah,
are
can
we
you make
still
it
waiting?
bigger?
Why am I still waiting?
Why am I still waiting? Why are we still waiting?
Why am I still waiting? What are we waiting for?
Why am I still waiting?
And I want to know why I am still waiting.
Why am I still waiting?
I would like to know why we are still waiting.
Why are we still waiting?
Why in the world am I still waiting?
Why am I still waiting?
New Jersey. Why am I still waiting?
Why am I still waiting?
Why is everybody still waiting?
My name is Lorene Martinez. I'm from Cumberland County, New Jersey. I'm on the medical marijuana program for Crohn's disease. I only have about 3 inches of my large intestines left, which makes cannabis oil run right through me. So I need massive amounts. I can't afford dispensary prices. I need home grow.
I am Janet Rose. I suffer from chronic pain, nerve damage, complex PTSD, a lot of pain issues, a lot of things that have gone on, a lot of trauma issues in my past. It's a lot of medications, a lot of doctors. They all led me right into the medical cannabis program, and I'm doing the best I've ever done. The state of New Jersey just wants to continue to profit off of it while they put their medical patients on the back burner. I honestly, as much as I love the legal market, I've worked in this legal market, I have a passion for this industry, it is not financially feasible for me to afford it inside the legal dispensaries at the moment. Homegrow would help me navigate that and provide myself with the medicine that I need in order to function on a daily basis at an affordable cost. If they're going to allow me to grow tomatoes in my backyard, there's no reason I shouldn't be able to buy a phenotype, take that phenotype home, and propagate that myself.
Hi, my name is Susan Charetto. I have had to go back on opioids because I can't afford the $62 for an eighth. I used medical marijuana to get off of opioids. And then when I ran out of money, had to go back on opioids because they're $20 a month. I also would be able to afford seeds if I could buy them from Curaleaf or The Botanist or any of these other dispensaries. You can still make money off of people that you're not currently making money off of because we can't afford your product. It's absurd at this point that we don't have home grow. The only state that doesn't have home grow.
My name's Mike Burry. I take it for anxiety. Really would just prefer it to be able to cultivate my own types and to keep the strains that I love alive, because I can't find them on the open market at all. Senator Nicholas Scartori, he wants medical patients to only be able to buy $65 eighths of corporate mids. That's the reason it's being held up, is one Senate president right now and his minions. It's ironic because wasn't he the one who started all this in the first place, and he rests on those laurels all the time? He says, like, oh, you wouldn't even have, legal cannabis if it wasn't for me. I got news for him. We still don't have legal cannabis.
I'm Reverend Rhea Carroll. Several years ago, my daughter had a big surgery. She was in the hospital for 8 days. They gave her opioids, even though she didn't want it, but they wouldn't let her have her medical marijuana. She came home, and the next day, she started to smoke medical marijuana once again. She did great. It's from the medical marijuana. We want homegrown medical marijuana so that we can partake. There's so many people that cannot afford it.
My name is Christina Wenner. I have a serious intestinal metaplasia, acid reflux disease, arthritis, extreme stress and anxiety. I need strain specific. Sometimes you may only have sativas. That does not work with anxiety or stress. Due to extreme stress and anxiety, I've had a stroke. We are fighting for home grow so we can treat our ailments the way we need to.
Hey, my name is Seth. I'm a medical cannabis patient here in New Jersey. When I was younger, I was hit by a bus and had knee surgeries and put on opiates for about 10 years. Recently, I got rear-ended on a motorcycle and got 5 herniated discs and torn my ACL. Still haven't used any opiates, and I'm going on just about 2 years without them. Home grow would help me a lot because I cannot afford to go to the dispensary and pay the prices and get the strains I want.
My name is Wednesday Mayer. As I treat for PTSD, and I need strain-specific cannabis.
I'm Big Dave. I suffered from PTSD. Cannabis has helped my life for as long as I can remember. I haven't done a drug as long as I've had dreadlocks for 18 years. Anyone and everyone should have the ability and the right to grow ganja.
I injured my back as an emergency medical technician. I have degenerated disc disease. I have several herniations and discs on discs. I'm in constant pain. I need cannabis oil. I need to make edibles. It costs so much money. I can't afford the medical marijuana that I need to live.
My name is Jake. I've been in, unfortunately, several motorcycle accidents now, and I suffer from chronic lower back pain, anxiety, and bipolar disorder as well. Medical marijuana home grow would help me be able to cultivate the specific strains I need, the ones that the MSOs and the growers out there just aren't growing yet. It'll help me take control of my condition.
My name is Marina, and I use medical cannabis. I use it for anxiety and for cancer. It's such a game changer for anxiety for me. I've had
Hey guys, sorry, I
doctors in
have
the
to
past
pop
tell me,
off. I'll
please
talk to you later,
smoke
alright?
before you see me. Other states have homegrown. Why not New Jersey?
My name is Michelle Burns. I have multiple sclerosis for over 38 years. I need my marijuana every single day before I could get out of bed. Dispensary prices are outrageous. And I need an ounce a week for my condition. I can't afford an ounce a week.
My name is Willie Hayes. I have a broken tibular and fibular.
So yeah, you get the idea. It's just a line of misery, people suffering here. It's just terrible what's going on here in New Jersey. This is what we're dealing with here.
When I see these also, it reminds me that something going to add to people's. I'm at the moment. I'm still taking care of 6 people's emails for them, writing them, and they send them as their own. And I haven't yet used the power of 15-second, 8, maybe 20 at most, video attachment to a letter to a legislator, Susan as an example. And because out of talking about it for 5 minutes, something like this, there will be the perfect 15-20-second section. It'll just be perfect. And it'll have to do with what she writes, which is exactly what I send her. It starts out where everybody does their own second paragraph, no question marks, because it makes it personal.
Mm-hmm.
But then it always morphs to, no, Jim, go ahead, once that's on. But anyway, see this for this podcast tonight, what I get to take away, if anything ever turns out to be a game changer, it's because you were on the podcast and we were here.
Aw, thank
you.
you.
But that's the way it works when you look back.
Yeah.
And I left the event on Tuesday. Like I crossed paths with 2 people that are going to be game changers. So the event itself is secondary to the paths crossing every time these things happen. But to have that in an email trail, predominant on a website, and it's worked before to change people's minds when they found out. Oh my God, an 18-second attachment that when somebody's reading about it on letpatientsgrownj.com, when they're reading about it, then they can go to see that as well. They can see the attachment. I mean, I'm a computer dinosaur, so, I don't get stuff straight sometimes. But that being the case, not only can other people see that, it could become a resource for anything cannabis is a marketable news story in New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, whenever we're chugging along and nothing new, if somebody wanted something new, they could go and see somebody's actual interaction with their senator or whatever and think, I'd like to do, and that senator, yes, I have time to talk to you from the New Jersey Spotlight News, Brianna Venozzi. Sure, why not?
There is something new. The feds are shutting down a dispensary because it's too close to 1,000 feet of a school zone. So the feds are shutting down. They're using the federal law to do it. They're saying
where would this be? Where would this be?
Washington, D.C. They say your dispensary appears to be operating in violation of federal law.
I saw that.
Yeah,
well,
right?
That's all they can do. They can do that in D.C. and that's where they get to make statements.
But it was fine
I can only do it in
for
DC,
them to open it.
Yeah.
The rules are changing. The parameters are changing.
Oh, well, the thing, they get to do that and they abuse that privilege like I wouldn't have believed.
And another thing too.
Yeah.
Most of your voting population are seniors. Most of your local elected officials, like committee people, a lot of these are seniors. They are also activists. And when you get them started, they're loud voices. They go to the conventions and teaching them. And I'm teaching them from the perspective of I'm coming at this through the consumer's eyes. I am the consumer. I am the senior stoner. Here is what I've done. Here's how it affects me. And I didn't blow up. You don't see me sitting here eating an entire Pepperidge Farm cake.
That's for later.
Now I'm starving.
When we're done. You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's okay. You know, look at me. I have, if you visit my site, lizlightsup.com, you'll get the full gist of everything. But
what is your favorite? What's your favorite munchie food? Since you mentioned it,
I go through phases. Right now, it's Swedish fish.
Oh yeah.
Huh. Lefty asks everybody. That's the first.
I lose a tooth when I eat those, though. I lost a crown from that one once.
Oh, my daughter did too, which is okay. Now it's just more for me. But yeah, that's what I'm on now. There was a time it was Charleston Chews.
More for me.
Oh yes, yes.
I've always been asked why when I got married to Cheryl. She's in her wheelchair then, but she wasn't a cannabis consumer and should have known about it years earlier. I didn't know. But anyway, when it was always like you married somebody that doesn't smoke pot, yeah, more for me.
Yep.
You know, and so again, that's striking my little, you know, all my years worth of happenings. You know, sometimes one gets a tap like that, and it makes me chuckle. Yeah. And I can see myself. It's the same chuckle every time.
And when you hear those things, your mind immediately goes to a happy place, and you actually feel it in your body where you almost. It's a different relaxation that comes over you, and it's cozy.
So so doing this again with not like 20 people, actually with 5 or 6 people at a maximum time, there would be so much going on, especially for seniors, because look at all the life's experience. If 6 people in their just over 55, really,
yeah.
You know, so much experience that would come out, and then there are like, oh man, how many times I go, oh, I wish I had that captured, you know. So to have discussions like that captured,
yeah,
it lends itself to really being able to promote what you do. In other words, just looking at a conversation or whatever, and then there would be some going while they're talking. Like we are, and you could arrange such a nice thing, you know, and having somebody that can do it. I like looking through and like, here, this 15 seconds would work, followed by this, by that, saving that person time.
Yeah.
Used to be only Lefty could do it. Now Bucket Man had to identify himself in front of me as that kind of person. Can't he just feel that train coming, you know? I got an idea.
If Lefty could send me everybody's contact information.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well,
I love this. This is great.
Yeah, and well, you should certainly not be a stranger.
I was going to say he may be sorry he offered this.
No. It'd be more.
It's the same
like,
link too. I'll tell you what, it's the same link. So we're on Tuesday and Thursday at 4:20. If you got the link, just jump on. But I got another question for you.
Okay.
The first time you ever smoked weed, how old were you, and what was it like?
I was 16. It was on a September morning. It was high school. A friend of mine and I went out to her boyfriend's car, where we had a corn cob pipe.
Yep. they were popular.
Yeah.
And we got high.
Oh, yeah.
I walked back in the building, and you know, I knew the first couple times I wasn't getting high. That's what everybody kept telling me.
Huh.
I got lost.
Oh.
In my homeroom hallway. I got lost. I could not find my homeroom to save my life.
While you weren't high, yeah.
But yeah,
you weren't high.
Yeah. I ended up in woods because I made a turn, 1 telephone pole too soon, hidden driveway, 3 telephone poles, red light after the 3rd pole, and then I realized not because of that, because of my reaction. Oh, oh, oh.
Well, all
But
I can
that-
remember thinking was, okay, you got to act cool.
You do.
Well, I don't know where I
So-
am.
Yeah.
I know where I am. Yeah, it was a whole conversation in my head. I will never forget that.
Was that back when seeds were predominant and you'd get pops at it, pop and pop, or did you have to clean the seeds?
No, God, seeds,
okay, yeah.
stems. It was a mess.
Yeah, well, that's one thing the youngsters don't understand. Not only were albums really good to listen to, but especially double albums that opened up were good for cleaning seeds. But then frisbees became popular because they couldn't fall, And it always involved cleaning seeds until we got this new brand called Sensimilia. It wasn't a brand; it just didn't have seeds,
And Tie Stick.
Oh yeah, Tie Sticks. Yeah, they were pretty damn good. I know one time they had one in a plastic bag over a visor and was smoking the other. A windy day at a work site and when you open a door and somebody else has a window open and there's a breeze, it took it right out, but we somehow must have not noticed it because like all of a sudden it was gone and it was the wind and it had just been windy. We couldn't find it right off, and then I had your typical idea. All right, let's follow this one because we already had in a different bag. So we put one we were just starting to smoke in it, and we set it free and chased it down. And damned if there wasn't an empty bag on some sort of fence that it couldn't blow through, like probably a screen fence.
Yeah,
and it was empty, but we were. Stoners we were just so happy we found it. It was like we'd won something, and it was
like
empty.
the lottery. Yep.
Yeah. Oh man, see, this is what also discussions you don't know what might happen with two other oldsters there. Yeah, well, and some of that would be so marketable. I mean,
oh God, marketable.
And because it would say so much without saying anything,
and it would bring generations together.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because we've got, the 70s, the 80s, I always say they were a confusing time for all of us. But, we have stories, some of which we remember,
Yeah.
And
some of which we'll never tell.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And
stories
and
that
it's
never
funny.
untold. Yeah.
I listen to a lot of people and they're like, oh, they're always on their phones, they're taking pictures, blah, 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 this generation. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought about it. And back in the 80s, my late husband grew some pot. Worst weed ever. But we memorialized it with pictures that we dropped off at the Photomat. Which.
Yep.
You know what a Photomat is.
Well,
a little bit.
Where do you go when you take? Where do you take a break?
Little
when
tiny
you're in a photomat. Where's your
tiny booth?
Yeah, those tiny. Where there was no toilet in there. There couldn't have been. But I have the printed pictures, so we did dumb shit too, and we actually, we took pictures and then we sent them away for a week, and many people saw them.
Yeah, some didn't come back. They wouldn't make it back.
Yeah.
But that's when when they made it easier to have yourself developing pictures without pulling the thing out and putting this smelly stuff on it and drying it off like the old Polaroid. It became just like easier.
They used to censor pictures, right? Didn't they censor them back then?
Yeah, they did, but places like Photomat, they just let anything go.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, they wanted.
They were kids. They didn't care.
They wanted the money.
They'd make an extra copy for themselves.
Yeah,
and call it a day.
But sometimes you get come in for your photos and it'd be like, "Here you are, man. Here you go." I mean, they're taking photos and putting them for you. It's not like, did you look at them? It's like, dude, I can't do this with my eyes closed. Yeah. You figured that out, did you? Yeah. Oh, sorry. But you know, so you kind of kept that in mind too. You know, I mean, yeah, I see, you know, really possibilities for just an occasional. I mean, even if it was once a month, Lefty, you got it. You could facilitate it.
Hey, we're all AARP here, so
Yeah.
we're good.
Well, you belong, but you're the one that can make this a reality, because here we are.
I love that.
Are you know? And then we could do just for that, and you are ARPable, and you know, I'm saying not filling it up, because seriously,
I'm ARPish.
Six people's kind of like a lot, almost a 5-person sick, and I'll actually be able to sit around and kind of stir the pot, so to speak, without being one taking
We
part.
can all talk about how horrible we feel. I could talk about my artificial disc and my fusion and my my stenosis and my neuropathy.
I wouldn't be
Yay.
needed. I would not be needed, though. This is a self-moving event. The conversation would not stop. You could just sort of give it a nudge this way or that, and it runs. It would never be silent. It wouldn't. It just wouldn't. And yet, then Bucket Man can, you know, if people know, oh yeah, my likeness, I'd sit in with that. Sure, I don't care, you know. And it wouldn't be the, hi, I'm Jim Miller. I hurt my feet bad a long time ago. You know, it's not that. You know, I wouldn't be the one that's needed there. So I'd probably just like watch it if it's being broadcast, but it doesn't have to be broadcast even. It can just be, you know, whatever works. I suggest, I mean, I would love to be part of it, but not like as much as I would enjoy it. I would also enjoy watching it later, because, and the older the better.
No, yeah.
I mean, it's sort of like Kathy and I, as Lefty knows, we went to a 100th birthday party of a woman, Kathy's friends from YMCA. What do you call it? Water aerobics, Kathy? Yeah, water aerobics. And so yeah, at this one, it went back to, you know, the moment of the celebration, and but in the house, anybody in their 90s, and yeah, there was one guy, and then 80s, and boy, quite a few hands went up, and then came to 70s, and okay, now we're in the lower half after that, in the 60s, and there are going to be people in a discussion like I'm envisioning who are going to be, and the fun part is this was like a really very well represented family tree. At one point, you don't usually hear, so how many doctors in the house?
Mm-hmm.
What, 6, 7 people out of 150 maybe, you know? And what was interesting is well, we were a white minority because Marge, you know, has familiarity with relatives from when she was young that were slaves. I don't mean like, well, my mom and dad, you know, but it was just part, you know, of growing up in the 20s and 30s.
The way it was, yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, there are going to be people of that age having wonderful conversations if Lefty does this, you know, and I'm pretty sure I can make sure that stays on path.
I love that.
And, well, you would be great to be like the facilitator's facilitator and with about 4 other people you've never met, and let the discussion roll. It will never stop. There's a number,
yeah.
You know that. We all know that.
Oh yeah, I can talk for, like I said, my kids are so sick of hearing me.
Yeah, but
because it's my life, it's my passion,
so
it's what I believe.
What happens when you get 4 or 5 of you on screen, including you? You see the gems that would just happen.
The energy.
Okay, first, I mean, I chuckle 3 or 4 times. That's all about terpenes. There's people who are young that would be watching that going, that's cool, you know? But it would also do what you're doing. It would really be a perfect sidecar to what you're doing, you know? It's wonder of pot too is, well, that's what I seem to still call it. I can have some and put it to use here by stimulating other people with a similar mindset into something I can't easily translate to other people as easily. So again, paths crossing is is good, and this has been a good night for that. His event left me with somebody, actually the guy who's fixing the Coalition for Medical Marijuana, New Jersey's a bunch of old white people who don't know how to do shit. But we knew all about him. For 20 years, we know about that, but not about how to move it like that. But anyway, yeah, he's the guy they turn to for that. And he was at the Tuesday event. Lefty was hosting. So
yeah, I would love it.
Well, I had time with him on a meeting for a coalition when he was taking care of stuff in a similar fashion. And I'm like, okay, I'm purposely charming him as I can do, because I can see people, and you don't know if I'm looking at you right now or not. I mean, it doesn't look like it up there, but I am. So basically, I find that to be a good avenue of basically saying things without saying things. And then accidentally, these paths cross like 2 or 3 weeks later then. And with the email trail is going to go up on letpatientsgrowNJ.com. It needs to be, the website is just sort of been sitting there for a couple of years, you know, and it needs a little bit. But Joanne, who is the one that would be doing that, yeah, I just got to get her and Brian, Lefty knows, together, and that's because of Tuesday. It would have never happened otherwise. So that's awesome, and not to mention somebody who's generous to help get me some RSO for a brother with cancer usage of it. So,
well, guys, thank you. It's 6:30. We gotta cut the show short at 6:30 here. I want to thank you from Liz from LizLightsUp.com. Right? Do I have it right? LizLightsUp.com.
Yeah,
lights up.
I am lighting up. I am lighting up the future of cannabis for seniors and beyond.
Let's do this. I have a list that we're going to read here. Hang out for a minute. We're going to go through our list here. But first, I want to thank Mad Hatter for having us here. We're next door to Mad Hatter. We're at the Tea House next to Mad Hatter. And this is a consumption-friendly area. It's an event space. They're going to be astroturfing the parking lot here and putting up umbrellas and seats and stuff out here. It's going to be amazing. We're at Mad Hatter. We're across the street from Air. So if you see, you know where Air is. We're down the street. We're across the street. Mad Hatter, come on down.
Yeah, you're down by the Wawa.
Yep, and it don't matter when you're at the Mad Hatter. So come to the Mad Hatter. You get your shatter. Get your shatter at the Mad Hatter. Get your cake batter, and you make your blunt fatter at the Mad Hatter. I love that.
And shit don't matter when you're at the Mad Hatter. Shit don't matter when you're
I
at the Mad
actually
Hatter.
haven't been there yet. I've been dying to go. I just haven't had a chance because it looks like a lot of fun.
It is.
And
fun
I saw one of your videos. I think with when was it? It was just a bunch of guys hanging out.
Oh, was I one of those guys?
Yeah, just a bunch of guys hanging out.
So what we have here, by the way, is I'm being asked by a woman in my age group to open something with the miming of like that.
Yes.
Holy crap. But anyway, because we're talking about accessibility and exactly.
Is this the one
you
want?
I
state of mind. Quarter, nickel, even a dime. Bloodshot eyes is a sign of how fucked up you get.
There's where he is.
Up at the sky. I'm ready to fly high. You know what I mean? It's time for the green. You know what time it is? You know what time it is? 420. You know what time it is? You know what time it is?
There it is. Mad Hatter,
There
baby.
it is. Oh man.
That's great.
Oh, yeah, you're going to thank people, but the list, sometimes I got a real quick synopsis. It's just people that were involved, patients, advocates, those taking care, who died before seeing the end, the light at the end of the tunnel, which we are heading to. So much like once a year, everybody that died in the World Trade Center, their names are read out loud. Yeah, it makes it having the name said, one or two occasionally, but it's just name after name after name. And we know who it is. And, you know, it's the purpose is to make people at the end kind of feel like shit on purpose with the reality, which is all we are trying to bring is the actual reality. And I love that we've been talking about that all night. But
Jewish guilt is great.
yes, it was. And then ends it with a reading of the Ode to Remembrance, which was about World War I soldiers we applied to cannabis patients. Take it away.
I don't know about you, Jim. I want to get raptured. I hope to get raptured. Like Obi-Wan Kenobi. Remember Obi-Wan Kenobi? He just like disappeared. His clothes were on the floor. And all of a sudden, where's Obi-Wan Kenobi? I don't know. There's his clothes on the floor. What happened? I'll be raptured. So anyway, thank you, CMMNJ. Mad Hatter, thank you. Mad Hatter, you're the best. They gave us great space here, and come here. It's a consumption-free party here. It's amazing. Wait till you see what they do this summer. CMMNJ, UFCW, Arlo Glass, OprahMachine.com, and SativaCross.org, where you can donate $1 or $100, $10,000, whatever you want, whatever you got. And
Thank
our list.
you so much.
Thank you. And our list here, it's helpful, it's hopeful, and sometimes it's hurtful. And it's all our friends and family, like Jim said, that just waiting for cannabis or waiting for home grow for sure.
Yeah.
It begins with Cheryl Miller, Jim's late wife, Sabina Rose, Diane, Gracie, Cindy Mae, Marie, Jack, Joan, Randy Robertson. He had the Whipple procedure done before they gave him cannabis oil. You would think they would give him cannabis oil before the Whipple procedure, but no, they gave him the Whipple procedure first, then the cannabis oil. And it was Holly Connolly, Bill Buckman, Chad, Jeremy, Colette, Matt, Troy, Russ, Roger Barber. He fought for his daughter his daughter to have the nurse administer cannabis in schools.
Roger Barber did that, and that was a New Jersey lawyer. Had it was basically was it Dravet syndrome? Anyway,
yes.
Yeah, a childhood epilepsy, and
was her name Charlotte?
What's that?
Was her name Charlotte?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, but she's on the list.
Jenny Barber.
Yeah. Sure. But what happened is it ended up that New Jersey was the first state, not Colorado, New Jersey, the first state in the country to allow a number controlled dangerous substance, a Schedule I drug, on school property for use. You know, and so to be able to do that, even in a form that wasn't, well, here, just take this. And the mother at first had to come in and do it. And it was, but yeah, he got that done. And then it just seemed he just died. Was it a heart attack, Lefty?
Yeah.
Do you know?
It was too much for him, the stress.
Yeah. And there's no direct necessary cause and effect, but it just has that feel. So anyway, yeah, having these names said does just make it real somehow, because it's a connection of sorts. So
I love that.
Yeah.
Jay,
bothers me.
Ella, Hattie, Jackie Rickard, Anthony, Jake, Armando. Armando died from tailbone cancer. I never heard of tailbone cancer, but apparently it's a thing. Yeah, that's a thing. I mean, I guess it's spread everywhere, but tailbone cancer.
Yeah, I've never heard that.
No. Felicia, Lynn, Dan, Sean, Joyce, Lori, Frank, Brian Cuprian, who you mentioned before. Hello, Carl, Thorne Peters. Thorne Peters used to do podcasts all the time and from Tennessee. And his buzzwords were no mens rea. No mens rea. We don't need laws to give us what God give us, these natural things, these natural plants. They took it away with these bad laws. Well, we don't need these laws. no mens rea means no guilty mind. There's no guilty mind. Like when
Right.
when Rosa Parks sat in the front of the bus, was she wrong or was the law wrong? Well, they would tell you that the law was wrong, but back then she was wrong. You know, we needed laws in this country so that blacks and whites could get married. Black and white people couldn't get married. They needed laws passed to do what God gave us the right to do. Like, what are you doing? So, no mens rea was. You watch Thorne Peters. Google him. Watch one of his videos. They're all the same. They're all amazing. Thorne Peters from Tennessee. He sold weed out in front of the Tennessee courthouse, and then they wound up killing him in jail. He went to jail. They killed him in jail.
Oh my God.
Well, he forced that to happen. He wound up there causing good trouble.
Causing good trouble is right. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Frank, Lorraine, Terry, Charlotte. Now here's the Charlotte you're talking about. Charlotte Figge. That might be the one. Charlotte Figge. Charlotte's Web.
Yeah, the epileptic.
Most of this is
Charlotte's Web. Yes.
This is almost predominantly people in and from New Jersey, but her story had such an effect on actually people from New Jersey moving to Colorado because of being able to get Charlotte's Web. You know.
Yeah.
That's what it was called, right?
Yeah. Okay. Cher, Jay Bird, Michael, Marley, Colette, Brendan, Red, Rico, Lou, Becky, LaWanda, Chip, Paul, Lisa, Marcus, Gary, Julia, and Jeff Oakes, who would come to council meetings with me for years and fight for cannabis patients with stage 4 cancer Jeff had. And there was times where he had a chemo bag strapped to his hip when he would go to these meetings. He was sick, feeling like crap, and he would still go to fight for the rights of others because he knew he wouldn't see it during his lifetime, but maybe someone when going forward would be helped by his
And
work.
to have a really good video. I wouldn't mind watching that one more time when he was in the hospital. Like Lefty was there, and they had police come because he had marijuana, and the whole thing. I mean, and the one thing I got out of that was they
smoke it at home. Smoke it at home.
No, but they made him get rid of it by flushing it down a toilet.
Yeah, he was going to flush it down the toilet, and the cop said no. Cops didn't let him do it.
But anyway, when it came time for that, in the video, it was the simple Jeff walking over, and he turns over and goes like this to the policeman, like, come on. You want me to do this? You come on. And turned and walked, and that guy went in the bathroom with him for whatever. It was the imagery that it left me with.
I was recording the doctor telling Jeff to smoke it at home, and I was recording the doctor, and she told me to turn off the phone. So the policeman came over to me, and he saw what was going on here, and I wasn't going to erase the video, and she wanted me to stop the phone and erase the video. The cop comes over, he looks at my phone, he says, "Oh, it stopped." He stopped recording, and I hadn't stopped recording. I was still recording. So that cop was totally lied in my favor because he must have known somebody with cancer or something that he was like, "This is bullshit. What I'm watching here is bullshit." And if you watch that video, it was bullshit.
But anyway, and Jeff's outcome was not in question. So he did this. And then, real quick, got to ask the governor at a town hall.
Google that's a great video. You got to Google that one. I just put it out there on YouTube. It's on YouTube.
You did, yeah.
It's just out on YouTube. Check out my channel. Go to the video. Watch the Jeff's video, and it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing what we got them to do.
Chief of staff.
We had the chief of staff and everything involved. But listen, we got to run. Here's the ode right here. This is what we go through. And everybody go to LizLightsUp.com. LizLightsUp.com. Go there. And Liz, we're going to see you soon. You got the link. Jump on.
Yeah, I'll be back.
We love this. Thank you.
I had a great time. I thank you so much. And I will be back.
This is written 100 years ago. They went with songs to the battle. They were young, straight of limb, true of eye, steady and aglow. They were staunch to the end, against odds uncounted. They fell with their faces to the foe. They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them. Thanks, everybody.
Oh, thank
Good night.
you. Have a great night. Thank you.
You too. God bless. Good night.
You